smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. It is Tell Me Something time here on Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. A lot of news that we need to get to around Wild Card Weekend, including Monday's game. We'll do that in time. But the opportunity to bring you a pick that on the surface, I don't know about that. But then you kind of start to buy into it. I'm telling you, my pick, we'll get there. I know I'm going to get ripped. It's totally fine. Now, I actually can't remember what the Sunday selections were, but I know Saturday, Joe Lisi, you told us Najee Harris over 2.5 receiving yards, 2 plays in, and it was a winning wager. Have you found something now?
I'm going in the same type of situation. I'm going to look to Houston. You look at Devin Singletary, not on the ground, but through the air. He's got a receiving total of 13.5 today. He does have 4 receptions for only 8 yards. Last game, 1 reception for 2, so it doesn't look like he'll have success. But C.J. Stroud, check down against that defense, only giving up $167 in the back end. Devin Singletary breaks out, and he might even get 25+ at positive money today.
It's not a bad look because also, like, I'm always under the, guise of if it's front sevens getting pressure, what's your quarterback's best friend in that? Hey, the quick dump off here. And all of a sudden, 1 screen pass for a guy that's electric. We're not worried about slipping on field conditions here. It's in a dome. So there you go. And also, I do think Houston loses, which means at the end of the football game, maybe extra dump downs there as well. Makes sense.
Yeah, and if that Browns front pass rush there is getting upfield and is effective, those screen passes can materialize and be a way to settle them down. Let's get our radio audience into the fold. Appreciate all those here across the SportsGrid network watching and listening, including Sirius XM, Channel 159. It's Pro Football Today. Donnie, tell me something.
Let's go. Last week, I believe it was a 4-to-1 price on Najee Harris to record 100 yards, actually a 420 price to record 100 yards or more. He did that. We're going to level up our competition today, and as it comes up on the screen, it's 1 touchdown and 1 field goal for each team per half in the Super Wild Card game, the first one of the day. That is the Browns and the Texans. The reason I like this, again, it's the same thing I'm going to keep saying throughout this show. We don't have to worry about the elements here. Field goals of 55 and in should be live on both sides here. And also, I do think both of these football teams will move it, meaning touchdowns and also stalled out drives where, again, if you're at the 30, 35-yard line, makeable field goal attempts here. I think I'm getting a great price. Sometimes you see these games come around that, Kevin? 19-1, 20-1, 21-1. It's a playoff game. It's a depressed number. I'm going to go to the over here because also sometimes in the playoffs, points are at a premium.
Sure.
Guys are going to take the points here. I think it's one that's not necessarily a long shot for me, but a long shot price.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with this is, and it's, far more expensive than a game like the Rams and Lions would be, or the Cowboys and the Packers, but the expectation on this total, right, which is lined around a very similar number to the second game. And I know, Lisi's playing it differently, but for a lot of people, this Browns-Texans game has the chance to blow through that total, which absolutely makes it interesting. All right, so here's the deal with Tell Me Something.
This is it.
I am well aware that these two are going to tell me that this bet does not qualify in this segment.
Where's the preview?
Because, don't even, listen,
okay, I won't.
Because they're going to say it is the easiest bet in the history of this segment. And I don't necessarily disagree. But the reason this, I think, qualifies is I'm going to probably have to explain this 2 to 3 times before they believe me as to what I'm trying to sell.
All right, go ahead.
Patrick Mahomes over 40.5 rushing yards for the entire playoffs.
Wow.
It's -115, -120. I admittedly cannot remember the juice. This is a market we can kind of, on DraftKings. It is postseason long props. They have rushing yards, passing yards, receiving yards, rushing touchdowns, and receiving touchdowns. And obviously the caveat here for a lot of these guys is, what if they lose their first game? Another bet I'm on that you guys probably wouldn't like, especially Donnie, is Lamar Jackson under 117.5 rushing yards. I am not as high as everybody on the Ravens going super far in this postseason, and that's a big part of it. It's why I'm playing the under. But the main reason I have been so excited all day to talk about this is I was watching a little early line, Donnie, and your alt line, which is Mahomes for 40-plus today.
Yeah, I did.
So this is the reason why, of all of them, this might be my favorite. is the world, Donnie, where I hit that bet and the Chiefs get eliminated today is absolutely in play.
Yes, and also, it will be interesting if you get the 40.5 yards today. The Chiefs have one more game, and he goes for a -5 for that game, and you get it taken away when you could have had a huge alt number here. Now, I actually like that bet, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And if you think the Chiefs win today and he gets 25 yards on the ground, that is going to be live for profit. But also, I tend to say this. I mean, this is giving out a play that's going to take multiple games. I mean, nobody on the network will go on live and be like, hey, guys, how about this for good live content? Touchdown scores in the Super Bowl here. It doesn't make any sense at that point here, right? It doesn't make any sense. Nobody would do that here. No one.
45-1 for Cooper Kupp, huh? Bo Melton, plus 160.
No, 160-1.
Yeah.
Rashid
Malik Heath was
how about Rashid
150.
Shaheed? He's not even playing in the playoffs.
We could
Maybe
get into
bet
that.
him as
We're
well.
going to get into that.
He
game
did hit the
tomorrow.
alts, though.
You could hit the alts. I don't mind Pat Mahomes 40.5. We know in big games he does run. I expect him to break out in terms of the passing attack today. I think if he's going to have a big game, hang on.
No.
I know.
Where he's going, he's cooking.
I know. I know. It's if he loses, he's out. I get it.
It's not even that. You both think the Chiefs will win today, right?
I do.
Their money line is -230. I know these are famous last words. Is there any world he does not run for 41 yards over 2 games? With a guy who averages over 25 rushing yards per game in his career.
By the way, I thought the money line was -2,200 at one point today.
-1294.
He might get there today on one busted run. And here's the problem. I don't believe Miami's defense is physical, number one, especially against the run. And number two, it is apocalyptic. I can't even talk this.
That's pretty good.
There you go.
Yep.
I can't talk this.
By the way, and again, if let's just say the weather was nicer, I still would like Patrick Mahomes because, again, the big game runner. But the fact of the matter is, like, running game is going to be key tonight. He drops back. He's going to be running more than usual. So I think it plays into it as well, which, again, was funny. Like, you have a legitimate chance to hit that in one game. Forget about 2 or 3 games.
Well,
yeah. What is it, -115? Is that the bet?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, look, at the end of the
day, better.
It is not. Here's the reality of this. It is not, yes, each team for a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown in the game, plus 370. It's not Tyreek and Kelsey to combine for 250 receiving yards, all numbers that I considered. But the thing with that prop is, this is the reason why this doesn't work for Lisi. -115, that's probably going to win, but I don't care.
Joe, I had a Patrick Mahomes parlay, like 2-1, that I got ripped on. He's
that's
at
right.
-115.
But that was for the day.
Yeah.
That wasn't for the play.
Here's what I was really doing with this. It is a sacrifice. The only way I could get you two to pay attention to that is if I did it in the segment. If I did that during a middle game breakdown, and then I asked you two to repeat what I just said, no chance. Fighting upstream. Am I wrong?
The fact that it's Mahomes, like if you would have said,
hold on.
Tua.
I'm aware.
Tua would have been good.
No. I'm aware that the bet is easy. That's fine. They don't have the lower seeds. Like the guys that are dogs and stuff like that. No, because they would just hang their straight numbers. All right, we're taking a quick break here. Pro Football Today. Hope you've been sold. We'll be right back.
Sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Weiss said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, your mind. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars had, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. It's not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Some perfect timing on some breaking news. We will be talking to the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, in a couple of moments. But, Donnie, NFL Network's Mike Garofalo, ESPN's Adam Schefter. Boy, that's a tough photo, Shefty, that he used there. A.J. Brown out on Monday night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, so my first thought again is to rewind and go back to a football game that the Eagles had no business playing their top 10, 12 players, which they did, and they thought they could get mojo as if they were third-grade football peewee team here and carry that into the playoffs, and they ended up getting injured, so therefore making it harder to actually get back to the Super Bowl. It doesn't surprise me, but if he's not ready or healthy, you can't force him into this football game. I know I read also there that maybe if they advance to the divisional round, he could be back at that point, but it still gets back to the medium here is they shouldn't have played their starters against the Giants, or at least the important starters, Joe, and they did.
Yeah, and hopefully it doesn't hurt them. They get past the Tampa Bay Bucs. I do expect the Philadelphia Eagles to utilize the rushing attack a little bit more. Also, multiple opportunities potentially for Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert in terms of this ball game. Maybe old man Julio.
Oh.
Could we see an old man Julio sighting in regards to this matchup going up against his former team in terms of Tampa Bay? You never know. So we'll see how they attack this game plan. I do expect them to win. I think it'll be a very close ball game, maybe potentially in the first half. Second half, they do pull away. But big picture, if they're going to win potentially an NFC championship, you need A.J. Brown in that lineup at some point.
Yeah, I just – and I don't know what it is. This Eagles team has completely – I've lost all interest in – and I know that's like probably all very front runner, but for me, and I know for you, DRS, right, like you found it absolutely ridiculous that they played those guys. I didn't, and I ended up wrong, and that is what it is. But I actually thought there was something to going out there and trying, going out there and seeing, hey, what if Dallas isn't playing their best football on the other side of the coin? To play that game and perform the way they did. It is not, A.J. Brown didn't get injured on the first play of the game. I know he was injured going in, and, you know, that's kind of where it all fell apart. But the Eagles came out looking uninterested in being there. And that is why I think Sirianni's job is partly on the line heading into that game on Monday. And we can kind of, you know, use this segment here to talk a little bit about that game until we have Doc ready, who hopefully will be with us here in a moment. But and I think he's going to be here now. It's just the tone around the Eagles is really bad. And now joining us, the Pro Football Doc, again, has been helping us out all season. He and the guys over at SixScore.com been excellent with all the injury analysis. And, Doc, just to throw a bit of breaking news your way, A.J. Brown is confirmed out for Monday night. Your reaction to this news?
Well, a little bit surprising. Look, we knew he wasn't going to be 100%. By video, we thought it was an MCL sprain. He'd have difficulty cutting, but this is the playoffs. Look, let's cut over to Sam Laporta. He's trying to play, and he looks a hot mess, right? And A.J. Brown is not 100%. He won't be 100% next week, but this is the playoffs, so it's a little bit of a surprise that he's not going. But sometimes, it's better off. He's got to travel, the swelling, and, looking at the big picture. But overall here, this reinforces the notion that Tampa Bay is the much healthier side versus the Eagles in this Monday matchup.
Yeah, we'll see how that one gets there, Doc. But we got Super Wild Card Weekend starting this afternoon, 4:30 down in Houston. Taking a look here at the Cleveland Browns and the Houston Texans. Let me ask you this first. You're checking out the site here. I'm looking at the Browns pass offense in the red, Doc. Tell us some interesting stuff here about the wide receiver position / offensive line that we're looking out for here for Cleveland.
Well, the offensive line has been an issue all season. Left tackle, right tackle, left tackle 2, right tackle 3, et cetera. But they've done a good job with it. Last time in Week 16 that the Browns were in Houston, they torched him. Amari Cooper with 265 yards. Amari Cooper will play. Some defensive issues for the Browns still, including Grant Delpit, but their defense has played very well. But the big difference is from Week 16, when the Browns won by 14 points, 36-22, is that the Texans will have C.J. Stroud. That was the second game missed with concussion with C.J. Stroud. They had some defensive issues, and Nico Collins wasn't 100% with the calf, so would anticipate a much closer matchup today.
Doc, Amari Cooper was fantastic in their Week 16 matchup, a couple hundred yards receiving and also some touchdowns along the way. He has a heel issue. Now, he sat out last week again. They had that de facto bye week where they rested some of their starters. Talk to us about a heel issue in the pros and what it actually means there. Is that something with the ligaments? Is that just a bruise? What is that actually?
Well, they've never specified. A heel issue can be anything from Achilles tendonitis to plantar fasciitis to a heel contusion. And the bottom line is you play football on your toes. So I don't see this being a huge issue for Amari Cooper today.
Doc, I want to turn our attention to the night game in Arrowhead, Miami and Kansas City. Raheem Mostert, a game-time decision. He's been limited all week. What's the latest in regards to his injury today?
Yeah, Mostert with the knee and ankle, game-time decision, maybe more difficult in the cold to get loose and play. Jalen Waddle should return. Tyreek Hill still has the high ankle sprain playing through. The Dolphins' offensive line issues. But the biggest issue for Miami is defensively. Not only Xavier Howard out, but they've lost 4 linebackers in the last 2 weeks, including Bradley Chubb. And that's not even counting Jalen Phillips earlier. They've signed a couple of linebackers. Last week, they had to play Melvin Ingram at the edge. They signed Justin Houston. I mean, they've got a lot of turnover at the linebacker position, and that's the area to watch other than the cold weather.
Well, I want to talk about the weather to a capacity in regards to, we always hear that when there is an injury, it gets tighter in the cold weather. Is there anything that can be done from the training staff perspective in regards to Mostert if he does play? How would the staff attack this in regards to the injuries to at least keep these players warm?
Well, yeah, certainly that's, warm up, muscle injuries, medicines, they got heat wrap. Of course, it's going to be freezing cold weather there. It's going to be cold enough, believe it or not, that I'll bet you'll see the Gatorade and water freeze on the sidelines. And guess what?
Wow.
You still can get dehydrated in the cold. So I'll let you guys in on a little NFL secret. You know what players drink on the sidelines when it's cold? It's not hot coffee, because that's a diuretic that makes the dehydration potentially worse. Chicken broth. Every locker room has chicken broth, and you'll see guys run out chicken broth. It's the sodium, the salt content helps with any potential cramping, and it's warm. And you'll see a lot of guys gathered by those flamethrower heaters. They work a lot better than the white bench.
Let me ask you this quick, Don, before we let you go. Miami defensively, we know it's a mess. If they're able to beat Kansas City today, is there room for improvement, or this current defensive grade that's at a 72.6 is going to look like this for the rest of their postseason?
Well, I don't think any of the linebackers are coming back anytime soon, and Xavier Howard, their number one corner, probably is not. And look, Jalen Ramsey did a great job coming back from his meniscus repair, but I'm still not sure he's 100%. He did not look like All-Pro Jalen Ramsey last week against Stephon Diggs, so this may indeed be a lingering issue. And all season, Kansas City has difficulty pass protecting Patrick Mahomes tackles, and guess what? Miami doesn't really have edge rushers now.
Yeah, I think it's especially the Ramsey point. We were watching that game, Doc. A 90-yard touchdown was missed, and he still had a big game on Jalen Ramsey. Doc, we appreciate it a ton. We'll talk for more tomorrow. I'll give people this little teaser. The Pittsburgh Steelers' defensive six-score is as bad as you will see for a playoff team. We will get to that when the time is ready. Appreciate it, Doc. Enjoy the games tonight.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff as always there from Doc. And again, make sure you go over to sixscore.com and keep up to date with all the latest injury information and analysis heading into Super Wild Card Weekend. There's still a lot for us to cover here, but we're going to get some help coming up next from Jason Lockenfora, get some of his picks and breakdowns for this weekend's action right here on SportsGrid.
Sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
Right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division favorite.
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The wife said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars have, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live on Sports Grid, it's Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Tony Rightside, and Joe Lisi here with you on a Saturday morning, now joined by longtime NFL reporter Jason Lockenfora. Jason, appreciate you joining us here. A lot to get to on Super Wild Card weekend.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. We've got weather, right? We've got a guy coming off his couch looking to become Joe Montana 2.0. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the weather stuff. Listen, Jason. Last week you told us it was going to be good weather in Baltimore. I won't hold it against you. All right, but I mean, listen.
It was good.
The weather stuff is just tricky. It's a good bet. That's fair. Weather does always change. Let's start where weather won't matter in Houston. Obviously, they're indoors as the Texans host the Browns. You mentioned off the couch, Joe Flacco. I mean, it's just remarkable. And for a lot of people, people are saying the Browns would have a quarterback advantage in this game because of the way Flacco has been slinging it. What do you see here in the 4-5 game on the AFC side?
Look, I like the over here. It's been my favorite play in this game since the lines came out. It hasn't really moved all that much. I still think there's a lot of points to be had here. Vegas has had a tough time with the Browns on the road, right? They're 8-0 to the over. Their average Browns road game closed at 38.75 points. In real life, they ended up scoring totals of 54. So that's pretty far off. And you can look at the Texans and say, well, they've been not really an over team at home, but they've still averaged 43 total points in their home games. Houston's good for at least 20 at home every time Stroud plays. Stroud didn't play in the first game. These teams went way over that total. And I don't think much is going to change from the Browns' perspective here. They are a drop-back, play-action, bombs-away passing team. Houston Texans, one of the worst teams in the league against play-action passing. They love to chuck it 20 yards or more downfield, right? Flacco, 30 of those in those starts between Week 13 and Week 17. Second in the league with 12 completions. 80 more yards on attempts of 20 yards or more downfield than any team in the league. Houston in that same period of time gave up 504 air yards on plays 20 yards or longer downfield. Worst in the NFL. We're seeing a Browns team that threw the ball with Flacco 20 more times than any other team in the playoffs. The Browns ran 50 more offensive plays than any team in the NFL. They were throwing it 40 times a game with Dorian Thompson-Robinson at Denver, for goodness sake. So I just think you look at pace of play, both in the top 8 in terms of time of possession per play. I think there will be points to be had. I think the Browns score at least 27. I think we go over here. I've also played Browns on the money line early in the week as part of some parlays. I know that's a little chalky, but Flacco will do his thing and Njoku will do his thing. I think Stroud throws an interception here, plus 100. And I think the Browns win, but more than anything else, gentlemen, I think this is an entertaining offensive football game.
Absolutely. One of the spots here played in a dome. We don't have to worry, Jason, about the weather forecast, but the game tonight, completely different scenario. So much fun to play this out. It's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins, as we like to quote here on the set, apocalyptic temperatures anticipated tonight. This game goes over. Does it stay under? From your vantage point, what can we expect from this game, Jason?
Look, I played it very early in the week as an under game. My initial research, it just looked to me like a game that might be kind of like the one they played in Germany. And then obviously the weather forecast has gotten more and more extreme as the week has gone on, and that's done nothing to make me think that this is a night where they're going to be chucking it all over the place. And look, you look at what the Chiefs are right now. Andy Reid, he ran Pacheco way more as the season went on last year, and that's when they still had, an elite passing attack. That's not the case now. I think Pacheco runs the ball 20-plus times here. If you're Mike McDaniel and you're without – your track team is either not playing or beat up, your corners are beat up, your pass rushers don't exist, you're signing guys off the street. How is he not trying to hold the ball 35, 36 minutes here and play keep away from whatever that Patrick Mahomes passing game is? You still need to control the rock. You need to keep your defense off the field. I think both teams have a similar approach here. You look at the game they played in Germany, nobody got to 300 yards. 3 total red zone trips combined for those teams in that game, a game 21-14 that went way under. You look at the Chiefs at home, they've been a heavy under team. Yeah, Miami road team games have scored a lot of points, but we know what Tua is in this kind of weather, and we know what most teams are in this kind of weather. It's going to be a factor. Kansas City, a lot of home games, not even getting above 41.
This is an under game for me, folks.
Jason, I want to take a look at tomorrow. We have Dallas and Green Bay. Dallas, a dominant home team, but Jordan Love right now cooking with a little gas and fire. How do you see this game playing out? And if Dallas, let's just say, loses this ball game, any situation or scenario where Mike McCarthy gets fired?
Absolutely, positively. Mike McCarthy's coaching for his job here. He wants a contract extension. He's looking for security. If he doesn't win this ball game, he'll have all kinds of security and call certainty. He'll be watching Dan Quinn coach this team next year. I don't think that brings out the best in him. I don't think he's an exemplary game manager. I don't even think he's a mediocre game manager. I think he suffers. And the longer this game is close and tight, and I think it will be pretty snug, the worse I think it will bring out in McCarthy and his team. And look, I've sprinkled on Green Bay on the money line here. I love the 7.5. And if this thing is close, I'm going to double down on all of that live betting this at the half. Green Bay has scored over 25 points a game on the road. Jordan Love in the second half of the season, as good as any quarterback in the league, maybe the best, 18 touchdowns, 1 pick since week 18. Jordan Love has a passer rating this season against playoff teams over 100. I don't think LaFleur is going to back down here. I think LaFleur is going to be just as adept passing the ball and scheming it up as McCarthy is. They've got nothing to lose to the Packers. There'll be points in this game. This game, I think, absolutely goes over. And I do think Green Bay is live and frisky here. They're more balanced offensively. Again, I think they have the better play caller. This is not a bunch of rubes out there who are just happy to be there. They're trying to develop a young quarterback for the long haul. And I think that he's going to be unencumbered. The blinders are going to be off. They're going to play this to go out there and win. They're going to see if Dallas can keep pace with them. And they also can run the ball with a 2 running back attack in a way that the Cowboys can't. So Dallas has a certain script that they need defensively. They need to get up big on you and then be able to play the run on the way to the pass. I'm not sure that's the way this game's going to unfold. I don't think that's the template. And Green Bay is real frisky here to me.
Yeah, a lot of movement on that line. That was at 1.7.5. I think all those hooks have now vanished heading into that game at 4 o'clock on Sunday. What about the early game on Sunday, Jason? Crazy weather expected. This total plummeting down to 33.5 between Buffalo and Pittsburgh here. Is the story of this one weather for you?
You know, unfortunately it is. It's not super sexy. But I think even if you looked at these teams as well, taking weather out of it, if you go back to when Buffalo made the coordinator change, Buffalo's running the ball 52% of the time since then, most in the NFL. Nipping at their heels, the Pittsburgh Steelers, 51.8%. Are they really going to want the ball in Mason Rudolph's hands a ton here? As great as it's looked for these 3 regular season games, a road playoff game is difficult enough. A road playoff game under these conditions. I just think Najee Harris, look, I love him to run the ball at least 20 times in this game. I love Josh Allen to go over his rushing attempts and rushing yards total. And if you're playing all that, you might as well play the touchdown. I know they're not giving it away like they used to, but as part of a parlay leg, I'm on it. The points have always been too extreme for me here. Like, I just don't know that Buffalo's looking to go out and flex everything they have and open up the whole playbook. I think Buffalo would look at this as a survive and advance game, regardless of the weather situation. Now you add the weather in. TJ Watt's not just a pass rusher. He also is great setting the edge and playing the run. That's going to be an issue here. I think both teams will be fairly content to run the football. Buffalo's going to win this game. I don't know that they cover, but it wouldn't surprise me if this game is, 17-14. I jumped the under at 36. It's long gone. I would still play it under.
Yeah, you take a look at those 2 games back-to-back, basically, the Saturday Night Football game, major weather concerns, and right into that Sunday morning game. The other game we're not going to have any weather concerns about, that's Sunday Night Football live in the Dome. It's the Detroit Lions looking for their first playoff victory in such a long time. They're going to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford coming back to Detroit. Goff playing against his previous team. What do we anticipate from this game, Jason?
I love the Rams on the money line here. The Rams played last week like a bye, as they should have. Dan Campbell was out to win the knee-biting heavyweight title belt. I don't know what he thought was at stake last week, but he's cost himself here dearly with the Laporta situation. I don't think Ross St. Brown is totally right. And this is a Rams team that is completely tuned up and ready to go. You look at the deficiencies of the Lions defensively in the secondary.
They really struggle against 11 personnel, right? 21 passing touchdowns allowed and 11 personnel. Bottom 5 yards per attempt allowed in 11 personnel. Sean McVay, since the bye week, 97+% of the time is in 11 personnel. Even by his standards, it's extreme. The problem is you don't know, is Nakua the tight end? Is Kupp the joker tight end? Is Higbee really the tight end? They run so much stuff for so many different guys out of the same personnel grouping. Anybody can win in the slot. Detroit's terrible against the slot. Okay, they're getting Gardner Johnson back. I'll believe that's a huge difference maker when I see it. I love Stafford in this spot. There's going to be points in this game. I think Detroit ends up at least giving up one more than they score here. The Rams defensively, good enough. Lions defensively, I don't like them. We're talking about a Super Bowl winning quarterback, Super Bowl winning head coach, a team that's played well on the road in the second half, and it's a dome for a dome team. Give me the Rams.
Could be a dog day on Sunday. Jason Locke in Florida, we appreciate you stopping by here on Pro Football Today. Enjoy the games.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. All right, great stuff. As always, when we come back, we dive into the props market here for the Saturday slate, where the value sits. We'll tell you next right here on SportsGrid.
Sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I
favorite.
don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Weiss said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
I'll take
it.
a little piece of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, your mind. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars have, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. Not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. We will do some prompts, but I also want to give us an opportunity to look ahead a little bit to tomorrow. I know we're going to have plenty of time, so I want to make sure we hit those games here on a Saturday because, look, opinions can change, information changes, and we still have Sunday Morning Crunch coming up for the people as well. Let's start here with the Bills and the Steelers. Looking at it right now, it's a 9.5-point spread. Total 33.5 here, Donnie. When you look at this line, the way it's moving right now, how do you feel about this game?
I do think, forget it, the under for me is really out of the question. I'm more looking at the side. But let's take a look at why the under is dipping, honestly, so low in this game. We're expecting really bad forecasting temperatures. Number one, all of a sudden we turn into 20 degrees at kickoff. It's like, oh, that's balmy. Why? Because we've been talking about Kansas City being under, -3, -4, -5 at kickoff here. But the question is going to be, don't fall for this, people. And here's what I'm saying. You take a look at the totals there across the board. Let's just call it 33 even. That is an ultra-low number for these two teams. I think Kevin and I talked about it yesterday on Moneyline on the radio show, saying, well, where would this game be if it was nice temperatures? I would say 47 points. I actually think both of these teams would be able to move the football. Now, the question is going to be this. Don't fall for this. We love the overhyped weather conditions. Now, it looks like they might be as bad as what they're saying. But don't say, oh, look, it snowed 1.5 feet at 7 a.m. They're never going to be able to move the football. And then you turn the game on like, wait a second, where's all the snow at? The field is covered right up to about 2 hours before kick. That's the only thing we're worried about. But if the snow conditions are several inches per hour here, I don't know how we're going to move the football, or at least move it efficiently, because why? It's not just the snow, Joe, we're worried about. We're actually worried about the windy conditions that are going to be gusting at 40 to 50 miles an hour with a sustained wind of over 20 miles an hour. That's what we're worried about.
No, those are great points. And, Donnie, I actually take a side. I really feel strong about the Buffalo Bills in terms of this matchup because of those weather conditions and because of how built their quarterback is in regards to Josh Allen. 17 carries, 61 yards last week, played his college ball in terms of Wyoming, used to this type of environment. He's a quarterback that you could utilize in regards to the RPO game, especially with bad weather conditions. He might not have to throw it a whole lot in terms of this ball game. Without T.J. Watt in terms of that defense and that anchor, I think they're going to be able to run at will. I think it's all Josh Allen. Look for a lot of Leonard Fournette that got involved last week, 7 carries, 20 yards. James Cook is the speed back. They have 3 different types of backs that they could throw at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And from the Pittsburgh offense, Mason Rudolph is completely stationary. He's not going to run in any capacity. So if we believe the passing attack is going to be non-existent or limited in this ball game, Buffalo's just going to stack the box and shut down Najee Harris, in my opinion, force them into long third downs, and then guess what? It's game on. I think I've said it all week. I can't go back. This is the Billy Club special for me. Bam, bam, bam. I think Buffalo beats them up just the way they beat up Dallas. I think, and I've said to Pittsburgh Steel Nation over there, no shot. You have no shot to win this game. No shot. And the fact, here's one more.
13?
Here's one more. Right. The fact that Buffalo has played down to the level of competition in terms of double-digit spreads. New England, the Giants, Tampa Bay, they didn't cover any of those early on. In terms of this ball game where they lost last year against Cincinnati, got embarrassed in their home floor, I'm talking basketball, they're going to blow them out, I believe, in this ball game. The under might come in, but I still think it's all Buffalo.
This line opened at 43, the total. And I guess at the time, they're like, it's Buffalo, probably won't be great. But they didn't know. When I saw the 43, over. The Steelers' defense is atrocious, and it's now missing T.J. Watt. What they're going to send out there Sunday at 1 o'clock is going to be as bad of a defense as the NFL has to offer. I truly believe that. They are incapable of winning games without T.J. Watt. In the last 3 seasons, they've won once without him. They've lost, I believe, 8 or 9 football games in that span with him. It is absolutely terrible. Here is the thing, though, and again, if you guys want to have some fun, you can go back and listen to Moneyline yesterday. I'm going to do my best to not yell at Donnie today or tomorrow on this. But this is where we can find, I don't know if common ground. I asked you what you would make this total if they put it in a dome.
Yes.
And you said 47.5.
Yes.
And that I agree with. And I think what it comes down to is I will never accept that weather can knock 14 points off a number. I don't care There's no way, no how. I'll probably end up only on a Bills team total, though, because, similar to Joe, I don't trust any aspect of what Pittsburgh is going to bring to the table in this game. It is Mason Rudolph here. I cannot believe the amount of buy-in that exists on Mason Rudolph.
I can't either. Now, he has won 3 straight. He has transformed this offense. They didn't have a legitimate shot in terms of a passing attack. He's added to that. They're stretching defenses vertically, played well on the road against Baltimore in the rain-soaked conditions. But this is a different animal when you go on the road to Orchard Park. Not only that, but again, you have a Clydesdale, and I say that in terms of Josh Allen, that can carry the ball 17 to 20 times in this ball game as it relates to the RPO perspective, and they can wear down Pittsburgh in terms of this ball game. I mean, Huntley last week didn't run the football at all. He was throwing it all over the yard. So, again, I think it's a different defense without T.J. Watt there. I think Buffalo, whether they throw it, Kev, at all, I don't know, but I think they're going to be able to run it at will. And you look at Leonard Fournette, 7-1 to hit pay dirt tomorrow. Great value. Keep an eye out for him if they make a run towards the AFC Championship.
I'm just interested to see, because this might be one of those games that's better actually bet while you're watching it and you get a feel for what the temperatures are, because this could be one of those where we don't kick field goals. We don't kick extra points. And certainly we're just worried about getting the snap back to the quarterback, and then maybe somebody can make a play here, which means a lot of mush rushes up the middle where you're just looking to say, we're not going to make the mistake. Maybe you make the mistake. And also, what are the weather conditions with the wind, Joe? Are we going to be blowing east to west? Are we going to go north to south? The reason I'm asking that is because you might have it so bad on your side of the field that you're forced to just say, let's play keep away, pick up 3 first downs, and hopefully we run the clock out in this quarter. It'll be fun to watch it play out overall, but from my mind, again, I don't know why this line is 9.5. Like, I'm baffled by this. If I think the conditions are going to be as bad as they are, this is a coin flip football game at best. At best.
It is, but it is.
No, it's not. It's not.
If it's horrendous temperatures and horrendous field conditions, why would anybody have any advantage at all in the game?
Well, I mean, because that's just not how it works. At the end of the day, it is about the talent level that these teams have. And there's
again,
a massive
if you are built on a great
gap.
passing game, let's just say Stephon Diggs is going to have a big game. Maybe he doesn't even catch a pass because you can't throw the football.
But see,
like 50-mile-an-hour gusts. That's it. Like, they might even have to come out, Kevin, every 3 minutes.
I think it's an exaggeration.
I field goal.
I think the 50 miles an hour is
he wants
is
to
an
see
exaggeration.
your Doppler that you
here's what I will say. The Pittsburgh Steelers were dead, buried, and lifeless, right?
Yes.
Then they played Jake Browning at home. Tomlin got the job done. Box number 1. Then they went to Seattle. Since Thanksgiving, I have been talking about the fact that their run defense is beyond pathetic. So, Najee's a man. No. The run defense in Seattle is embarrassing. Then they played, by your description, third stringers exclusively and went wild for 17 points in that football game.
You know why?
Plays to my theory.
Right.
No,
you know why?
Horrible conditions.
And they needed the game.
No, not horrible. Forget the conditions, Donnie. They played third stringers.
In horrible conditions. Me, you, and Joe might be able to go out there and take down the Buffalo Bills because we just might not fumble the football. How do you like that? How do you like that?
I will say this. From the spread perspective, you've heard it all. You got to take Tomlin plus the points. Tomlin.
I guess what I don't understand.
Now it's double digits.
You have this game landing 6-3 final. Like, what do you have this game landing?
I need to see the conditions. I think it trends lower. But again, your whole thing, like, well, who have the Pittsburgh Steelers done? Look at the last 3 games. Chargers, 2-point win. New England stinks, 6-point win. Miami, they beat the tar out of them, 7-point win. Yeah. They're not blowing anybody out.
I
they
think
had a great game against the Dallas Cowboys. They're out of gas, and then they played 3 football teams in a row where they barely held on. Let's not forget last week also against this Miami team with no defense. They were losing in the fourth quarter of the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, but on the road in South Beach where they've hardly lost all season long, it's just not comparable.
On the team you're playing, they're all injured. You should have blown the doors.
No, I mean, if we want to
24-3 Buffalo.
And again,
I want the over, so I'll make it 45-3.
No, 24-3 is fine. I'll probably end up playing the team total.
All Pittsburgh minus 9.5.
By the way, to give people an idea, I thought in this segment we do quick wrap around 3 games, bring in props, and then here we are
again. This one got everybody's attention because of the weather.
I do like the cutoff point, though. We ignore the Dallas game didn't happen, the Chief game didn't happen. Like, what the Bills have done since the bye week is obviously win 5 consecutive. Should have beat that team by 40. That team's terrible. Everybody knows it. So the two, I guess we can kind of lump these in here. Dallas and Green Bay, Lions and the Rams. Here is something, though, that I actually almost called you about this yesterday, but I was like, I don't know if he's eating or asleep, so I left it. But because of the weather, right? And this is true throughout the AFC and NFC playoffs. The NFC is basically either in California, Florida, or indoors. The only bad weather outside game you might see is if Philly hosts a playoff game. It's not happening, okay? On the AFC side of it, what's the best weather conditions you could reasonably hope for? You have to have Houston on a great run, or, I don't know, the Ravens move in the middle of the playoffs to somewhere else. It's not really supposed to happen. So I took the Lions at 9-1 and the Cowboys at 4-1 to be the highest scoring team in the NFL playoffs. I think they should be significantly lower. The favorite in this market, and this is why I'll throw it to you because I think you'll get you to agree with me, is the Bills.
Yeah.
Well, the Bills' first game,
correct,
on a high-end team, even if I'm like, look, I think the Bills can get through. The Bills are going to struggle to still score 30 in a game with a total of 33.5. The Lions or the Cowboys, Donnie, have team totals tomorrow that are approaching 30.
Yeah, somebody's going to win a football game here, if not 40 points, very close to 40 points. And you're right about that. If the Buffalo Bills win, we even had Jason on talking about it. They don't care about it. 7-3, they would love it. Best victory we ever had. Let's move on here. Style points, I don't know if they're going to be needed. You get up 7 in this game. It might as well be 21 in the fourth quarter if we're expecting bad conditions. So it's a good look. If you can get one team on a hot run that's going to play in a dome, or at least their future is dome, nice weather, dome, and Super Bowl dome, away you go.
And think about how dominant Dallas has been in their house, right? I mean, they've won 16 straight. They've won by hitting almost 30 points in every ball game. The only one that they haven't hit 30 was the 1-point win over Detroit in terms of that matchup a couple weeks ago. So, yeah, that's a great point. I think if you're looking at both ball games, Dallas, Green Bay, and then L.A. and Detroit, which one trends to the over? I do feel it is the Dallas-Green Bay game. I do feel Detroit, L.A., even though explosive offenses, I think both coaches want to establish a run with Montgomery, Gibbs, and Kyron Williams tomorrow.
And what I'll say, though, for those prop bets, the 4-1 Dallas, the 9-1 Detroit, but really specifically Dallas, who early in the week I thought could lose outright. I'm probably going to change my tune on that, but it's neither here nor there. Dallas should be the favorite because they're in better conditions than Buffalo, who is the favorite. And Dallas, if they play the Niners, who's slightly but still booked in front of them, well, the Niners max out at Dallas's same number of games because the Niners can only play 3, and if Dallas plays them in the conference championship game, that would be their third game. So those are kind of some of the big-ticket items that I'm trying to get involved with there. And there's, again, this is the thing with the playoffs. You got to kind of go book to book and look around, but there are a lot of appetizing numbers out there, and now all of a sudden I'm hungry. I mean, we're getting close to Sunday morning crunch show. We'll probably do our usual sandwich and breakfast breakdown, and then we'll give you out some player props here. But up next, we put the odds in motion, and I mean as in motion as we have seen them all season. Many are saying next right here on SportsGrid.
Sat down with Nick Saban for a lengthy interview. You have spoken to Nick Saban multiple times throughout his career. How surprised were you?
I mean, he's not going anywhere, I don't believe. And at the end of the day, very surprised. Athletic department surprised. Talked to a few people, Alabama folks, late last night, early this morning. Very surprised. Didn't see it coming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev. Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now he's a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
favorite. I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
The Weiss said we're getting the Stanley Cups, and now they got Stanley Cups in West Virginia.
Yep. They're doing $300 million gross a year in sales.
Listen, man, we don't need that much, man.
They're crushing
take
it.
A little piece. of the Stanley Cup. I would drink from the Stanley Cup every day. I'll have inscribed on there. We'll get our BVB inscribed.
Yeah.
Stanley Cups.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
That tells you how good this league is. Jeff, you're mine. Big 12. Who's the team to beat?
Well, it's always Kansas. I don't care who comes in the league. And I love Kelvin Sampson, what he's done at Houston. I don't care. So Marquette, to me, is the best backcourt in the country. Tyler Kolek's the best point guard. Cam Jones is an elite scorer who just plays with such a good pace, and he's so smart.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
What did you think when you saw Lawrence on 3rd and 4th down, those two plays?
When you have a meltdown like the Jaguars have, the clear favorite coming into the season, we all know that, and they choke like they did, and they have this fall like they did, people are going to question what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence. He had a regression. It's not a major one, but he was not as good as last season. What's happened to the play calling?
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Yay, congratulations, but the game was over at that point, so another one of those terrible beats. If you had 3.5, 4, even 4.5, this was a 10-point game until the final closing seconds.
In-game live, prime time. Only on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Odds in motion, and are you excited for the football game today? The key word that we've been talking about, guys, right here on Pro Football Today on the SportsGrid Network, apocalyptic conditions expected for Kansas City and Miami. If we're lining this football game up, it's been on the move all week long. Maybe some opening lines out there around -1.5, -2.5. They have now spiked up to 4.5s, 5s, and even some 5.5s are out here between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. But the one condition that we want to take a look at and make sure that we have straight here, that is the total in this ball game. And that total, my goodness, looking at those numbers at around that 47.5 to 48 numbers have dipped to 46 to 45s to 44s and now find themselves at 43. The reason for this move, not technically we're looking at anything that we're worried about on the field. Yeah, Tyreek Hill's going to play. Mostert's probably going to give it a go. You have Devon Achane as a running back. And also, more importantly, moving through this football game over to the defensive side for the Miami Dolphins, which have a lot of players that are banged up, particularly at the linebacker position and also at their defensive ends. But if we're taking a look up here, as we see with the Kansas City Chiefs, the reason that we're looking at the line dropping here for the total is, again, those conditions. It's going to be bad today. -5 degrees as a wind, forget about the wind chill. -5 is a real field temperature. Throw in the wind chills here. 25-mile-an-hour gusts. That's going to be incredible to watch to see how cold it actually goes. But the graph on the screen that we have just a few moments ago, you see why that line is dropping, and that is exactly why. The favorite here, the Kansas City Chiefs, we'll see how they can move that football, but more importantly, we are all worried about the windy conditions, the freezing cold conditions, which they're saying right now, if you are outside, and let's just say you don't have gloves on, within 25 minutes, you know what? You can find yourself out there gaining frostbite. That is outrageous. It's going to be that cold today as things move along. I'm interested to see how it plays out, but this might be one of those games that even with those odds in motion moving through, you might want to actually stay during the game and watch and say, how bad are these conditions, and maybe make a play that makes a lot of sense. Pro Football Today continues with hour number 3 coming up next.